Welcome back to Writing with Witches, the podcast where witches talk about writing books and probably other things in the future. But right now it's just books. But specifically, this time, audiobooks. So I guess speaking books,
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm one of your hosts, Leona Urbanski. I'm an author with my debut novel coming out in early 2026, hopefully April. We'll see. My co-host is.
I am Nicole Autumn. I am the author of the Secret Society series. I have 3 books currently published, and the fourth one I have been saying is going to come out by the end of the year. I think it's more so going to be early next year. Just because I'm still heavy in first revisions, so there's that.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to is that the book news summed up
Um,
there?
Pretty much, yeah. Book news for me would just be I think it's probably going to be beginning of next year. Hope was to have it out by December, but I don't want to rush this and it feel rushed, I guess, or just not polished the way I want it to be since this is going to be the last book. So, yeah. Still no official release date yet. So,
Yeah. So yeah, mine is I have 14 chapters left of these revisions, assuming that I don't need to add or remove anything, which I don't think I will. I'm just changing some scenes up at this point. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm in the third act and I can actually really tell where the action is picking up.
mhm.
It's starting to move. So I'm hoping that that will get me moving to move faster because my goal was to have the revisions done by the end of October. Didn't meet that goal. Gonna try and get it done the first week of November. I'll just keep setting that goalpost.
1 week back. 1 week back at a time.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't go past that first week though.
Crossing, yeah. I have one thing left for grad school, and then grad school is done until January, and I can breathe.
Yeah. Like this past week was so busy for me. And I think the only thing next week or this upcoming week that I have is like parent teacher conferences. And both of them take place in the same day within 2 hours of each other. So I'm like, okay, I should be able to get some stuff done this week. So I feel you on that one. I'm trying to get it done this
Yeah.
first week of November.
So we're racing each other while at the same time going, come on.
I know. And I have 17 chapters still to revise. Because I did not get anything revised this week because of how busy I've been. It was nuts.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm interested. I've been sending Nicole my chapters in 10 chapter chunks. So I'm curious where we're gonna end up when I only have 6 chapters left. She's gonna get that next 10 chunk, and that's gonna be like right before the climax. And she's probably gonna be mad at me because she's like, "Where's the climax?"
Hurry up. Hurry up. Get it done. I need to read it.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, but yeah. Check something real quick before we moved on since we're talking about this. Uh, so also this is going to be the last episode before our November stories come out. So this will be
Yeah.
released on a Tuesday, and the November stories will be coming out on the 30th, the Sunday after. So look forward to that. We have are gonna have some fun ones. I am I am trying to write a cozy story. Someday I
Trying
will
very
succeed.
hard.
If
Yeah.
this one goes south, I'm just gonna give up.
You're like, I give up on cozy. It is not my
Yeah.
forte.
Yeah. So, cross my fingers. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, keep an eye out for that for sure. Um, my timeline is still the same right now. Looking at mid-April, Kickstarter February, March. So that's
Nice.
that's the sum of my news at this point. Besides, being excited as heck for Alex and what is going to be coming out of the design studio over there.
I know. I'm like waiting to see more of what she's doing with Charles. Because she said she was working on it, and then she's like, well, I'm not going to show you because he's missing a neck now. And I'm like, wait, what? You can't tease me like that. Like, I don't care if he doesn't have a neck. I know you're going to put it back. Like, I want to see. But I'm just like, what happened to his neck? Just disappeared.
Just vanished.
Just gone.
So,
Poof.
Alrighty.
So we did say we were talking about audiobooks. And when we say that, we're talking about producing an audiobook, not listening. Because authors, we will eventually have to decide, are we going to put an audiobook out or not? So that would put you into, why would you want to produce an audiobook for your manuscripts? I would say first one is accessibility reasons. There are some people that can't physically read books, whether they're blind or have mobility issues. So giving that access to someone is always nice. For accessibility reasons, it is nice to make it available for people who may not be able to physically read books or ebooks. So I would say that would be like a first reason.
Yeah, and I mean it's for that very reason that audiobooks I know they're getting, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead to the third point, but
You're good.
I know they've been getting really popular lately, but as someone who has been listening to audiobooks since freaking high school, they've always been around.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're more accessible because we have the phones with the Bluetooth links to the cars, with the platforms on the phones. I have been listening to audiobooks when they were still on cassette tapes.
Yeah.
We upgraded to CDs. So they've always been there, and it's kind of funny because you have the people that say audiobooks aren't actually reading, which is absolute bullshit.
Trash.
But I'm like, it's always been there. And yes, it is reading. Just so we're clear of our stance on this. Yes, it is considered reading. But this is something that is there. It was originally started for that accessibility reason, because people couldn't physically read the books, be it due to sight or mental issues or whatever else. I mean, I feel like audiobooks have really blown up in the past, 2 to 3, 4 years, it feels like.
I would even say the last 5 years. I feel like once the pandemic hit, so 2020 is when people were stuck at home, had nothing to do, so they started listening and reading to books. Reading and listening to books. There we go. And I think also, it was also very expensive, even more expensive before to produce audiobooks. And now with, audio equipment being cheaper, it is more accessible that way for authors as well. So it's overall just being more widely used, and it is helping people who may not be able to read like physically, but also people that are busy that may want to read but don't really have the time to sit and read. Like, I'm a mom of 3 kids. I listen to audiobooks when I'm cleaning and doing housework and cooking. So I sometimes don't have the time to sit and read like I would like. And that audiobook gives me that opportunity to do that. So you are reaching a wider audience as well, because there is audiobooks and streaming platforms that have made it far more accessible. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just that wider audience it's a big part of the market now. So that's definitely, to me, one of the second largest reasons to make that audiobook, is because if you aren't making an audiobook, you are losing a lot of market space.
You are.
So,
yeah. And once you decide, okay, I am going to produce an audiobook, the next step is, are you going to hire out or are you going to do it yourself? If you decide to hire out, there are platforms specifically for authors to use that you can find narrators. So ACX is probably, I want to feel like, say, probably the most well known, because ACX is immediate, it's like connected with Audible. And then there's Findaway Voices, which is another platform that I've heard of being used, as well as even Fiverr and Upwork. So you can go to these places and decide. I know you can put out that you're looking for narrators and people will send in auditions, and then from there you can decide who you want to narrate your books. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about that because I haven't explored that option since I already knew I was going to be doing it DIY. So
Yeah, same.
we know they're out there. We
Yeah.
know they're available. We have other plans for other reasons.
Yeah. Um so if you decide, to hire out, that's great. Or you can do DIY. There is a free program you can use called Audacity, which I believe is run through, I want to say, Spotify. It's one of their like sister programs, I think, if I remember that correctly. But it is free to use. You download it, you make yourself a profile or sign up and stuff, and that is free to use. But if you decide, you really want to go in full steam and producing your own audiobooks, there is something called Pro Tools and Logic Pro. These are more expensive because they are paid for purchases, and these are for people that typically do this professionally. So if you are dead set on you are going to produce your own audiobooks, and you want to have all the bells and whistles and all the extra things for producing audiobooks, you could go that route as well, but that is an extra cost.
And just so you know what these programs are for, when we say produce an audiobook, it's taking that audio that you've recorded, assuming you have recorded it yourself, putting it into a program to help clean up the audio. So like, is there background noise that you want to try and pull out? Is there you might need to be editing. Maybe you did 3 takes of the same chapter. You got to decide which one's the best take and edit it together. So that's what these programs are for. Pro Tools and Logic Pro were actually recommended to me by a friend who's a professional music composer. So you can kind of guess how expensive those things are. If you are just starting out, definitely I would suggest Audacity. That is there, and there's plenty of YouTube tutorials out there on how to use it. It's a pretty steep learning curve from what I've heard. I haven't actually gone into it yet. I'm kind of leaning on another friend who wants to learn it.
Yeah.
So gonna let her do that. But so yeah, that is what the mastering of a production is. And I'm probably, people who are professional musicians are probably gonna come at me for this because I have not actually done it. There is probably more to it than that. I honestly couldn't find a really good definition of what mastering is beyond cleaning up the audio.
Yeah.
So comment below if you can give me a better definition of what mastering is, and I will happily correct myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that would bring us to our witchy tip, which was spell jars. So spell jars are essentially witchcraft that you could do in little jars. I've even seen Christmas ornaments. So right now would be a good time to go get those cheap individual plastic like ornaments. You can put all your herbs or your crystals and stuff like that, all your spell work in it. And those make are great for hanging them around your house or even just sitting around wherever you're, whatever the purpose of it is. If you decide to bury it, though, plan ahead. Don't use a plastic ornament. Because I know some people
Yeah.
do like to bury their spell jars when if they're done with them or whatever. Don't bury plastic. It's not good for the earth. So think ahead if you are planning of disposing it that way or if that's its purpose. Um, but spell jars can be used for pretty much anything. To be honest, there you could use it for glamour magic, money magic. I've obviously people use it for hexes and stuff like that. I try not to go that route. But yeah, so you can pretty much use spell jars for literally any purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I've used them for protection. I've used them for just trying to get abundance in the future because I will do it on a Sabbath. Um, like you said, glamour magic. Yeah, like you said, pretty much anything. I can't list any more examples because I can't think of anything else right now because my brain
Yeah.
is melted.
Yeah.
Smooth as pudding.
Yeah. I will say we are filming this the day after Halloween. So we both had very long nights and days on Halloween. So we're a little worn out. Just a smidgen. Um, so yeah, spell jars are a great tool for doing spell work, especially if you're wanting it to last for a while without having to actually, do the spell every day or every week, or it's just something that you can carry with you. You can charge it repeatedly, to kind of boost its magic. So spell jars are a great alternative, especially if you live in like somewhere that is you don't have a big house and you don't have space for a big altar or for your spell work. A little tiny jar, Dollar Tree, has little jars with corks in it. They make for perfect little mini spell works. So not mini in power, but just size. But yeah,
And I mean, and you can put whatever you want that'll fit into these
yeah,
spell jars. I've used crystal chips, I've used herbs, salt, um,
little rolled up pieces of paper.
rolled up pieces of paper. Uh, so long as it fits in the spell. I tried to do a spell jar earlier this year, and I was going to put a citrine stone in it. Citrine, I don't know.
Citrine,
And I'm
yeah.
like, all right, shit, gosh, dang it.
Damn.
Message. If you're going to do this in a ritual, make sure so you don't disrupt yourself because I know that really kind of threw me off. That everything will actually fit through the mouth of the spell jar.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. If not, then you kind of break your concentration because now you're scrambling to find either a smaller stone or figure out a way to fit something else in that'll do the same thing,
Yeah.
hopefully.
And there's all kinds of recipes out there if you're looking for something, or you could do what I do and just research what are your intentions. So, what pieces of magic and components will work for what your intentions are. Um, it's witchcraft is the original DIY.
Oh, yeah.
You can learn from other people, or you can do it yourself completely with the tools that you have. It's whatever you want to do, so long as you're, I can't even say that. Within reason. How about
Yeah.
that?
Within reason.
Yeah.
My cat is like rubbing up against my leg and my hand this whole time.
I can see his tail.
Yeah. He's just walking back and forth, getting pets. Yes.
Another fun thing to do with spell jars also is to seal them with the wax. So
Yeah.
having the good candle wax to help seal it with, um, And then yeah, it's you put what you want in there with whatever ritual you're doing, and put the cork on, seal it with wax, and you've got a tiny bit of magic.
Yep. I've done that before, and even with my husband, I made him like a anti-anxiety one because he has social anxiety, and when he was a recruiter, all he had to do, his whole job, was talking to people and trying to sell them to join the military, and he hated it. So I had to make him like a little anti-anxiety jar, and he would keep it in his briefcase and take it with him everywhere, and got him through somehow. So
Yeah.
you can even carry them with you. If you do use a glass jar, I would just use caution because it can break, and that's the last thing you want to do is break your spell jar in your backpack or your purse or your briefcase. So especially if you use oils or anything, that'll get everywhere. So just
As Rena in her haunted dreams found out.
just got pissed and dumped everything. She's like, shit, I broke them. Yeah. So if you haven't read my short story, Haunted Dreams, yeah, something like that does happen to one of the characters.
It's a good lesson to learn. This one turned out okay, but
Yeah,
it might not have.
it was favorable this time. Um, so yeah. um, I think that was it that I had to say. My little spiel on spell jars.
That's really all I have to say about it too. Again, like I said, Pinterest is great for finding recipes if you are looking for inspiration, or um just trying to, you've never done it before, so you're like, what the hell do I do? That's
Yeah, I will say Pinterest is great for finding recipes, but cross reference what it's saying because a lot of people will just write shit and put it out there, and you may look at something and be like, what? Like someone used bay leaves for cursing someone, and I'm like, that's not what that's used for at all. So yeah, just cross reference. If you are using someone else's recipes, make sure that they know what they're talking about. Or your spell jar could just go sideways real fast if you don't know what you're doing.
do your research.
Yes, our tagline, do your research. Definitely cross reference if you're using someone else's recipe. But Pinterest, yes,
Yeah.
is a great spot to find resources. Just cross reference.
Yeah. Just double check.
Just it never hurts, you know. But jumping back into audiobook production, if you decide to hire out, there are going to be three main types of contracts. You have royalty share, which means you as the author are going to pay nothing up front. But you are going to also be working with a narrator that probably has little to no experience producing an audiobook. These are typically the contracts that people do when they're starting out. And it is kind of a way for you to get your audiobook and for your narrator to get experience. So typically there's no upfront cost, but you will typically split royalties 50-50 with your narrator. And I think on average it's 7 years past once it's like put it into the world that they get 7 years worth of royalties, 50-50 split. This is great if you do have a narrator, that is new, and say you found them and you really like their voice. That's great. And you have no upfront costs, which is always nice to save money. But again, that can kind of go sideways if your narrator isn't great, or you kind of you don't get very many options, so you kind of end up getting stuck with what you can get, kind of deal. So
Yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's fine. I would assume if someone is willing to do the royalty share, they are probably going to be a newer voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
That probably doesn't have a lot of experience yet. Unless there's like just a voice actor that's feeling like really being generous to piss poor indie authors, which could happen. I
It
haven't heard of it,
could,
but it
yeah.
could happen, I guess.
I mean,
Um,
I've heard of like author or narrators like doing giveaways for indie authors to get their books recorded without actually having to pay anything. And I don't even know if they take royalties off the back end. I don't know, but I have heard of that where like fairly popular ones have done that. But it's like a raffle
yes,
essentially. So the chances of getting it is little.
yeah, yeah. Just keep that in mind that they may be a newer narrator that doesn't have a lot of experience. So yeah, you're gonna get what you pay for, I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Um So then you have the royalty share plus. So this is where your narrator may have a little more experience, but not enough under their belt to basically charge full price. Or they just really prefer this method. This is a hybrid method where the author will pay like a basically a deposit fee, right? You pay a little up front, and then after the audiobook is produced and put out, you will then split royalties with your narrator. I think again for 7 years or whatever you and your narrator decide on in the contract. So this is kind of a hybrid model where the narrator is getting paid a little bit up front, so they're not just getting nothing out of it except royalties. And then the split. So again, this may be a narrator that has some experience and you have like those references that you can go back and listen to, or it may just be someone that, like you said, may like to help indie authors but still need to, put food on their table too. um so this is a good option if you do have some side cash and you're like, I do want to pay them a little bit up front. There is that. It does cost a little more, but you are more likely to get a narrator that does have a little bit more experience.
Yeah, agreed. So, yes.
I'm like, let me just. My kids keep walking by.
Yeah, I was like
um,
noticing the show.
the little peep of person. Um, your last contract option, which is what you're going to find with the big name not authors, narrators, is a pay per hour production. So it's called PFH. And this is where you pay your narrator. Basically, they will record your audiobook, and for every finished hour on your audiobook is what you pay. And they will typically have a standard rate set. And that can vary depending on who you go to. So if your audiobook is 8 hours long, you are paying them for only 8 hours worth of work. But it also takes a lot longer than that to produce an audiobook. This is paying per finished hours. So anything you listen to on the audiobook is what is going to be there and what you're paying for. But this tends to be the most expensive option. So narrators can price their stuff anywhere from, I think it's like $150 to like $350 per finished hour. So it is a big chunk of change to pay for your audiobook, but that is an option if you have the cash for it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the one you're gonna find that are the professional narrators. These are the ones that have been doing the popular books, and honestly, you have to be circumspect. I don't know, careful, because not careful. If you're looking for a big name narrator, they probably aren't going to have time for a little indie author. Just being upfront about this, because these are the
Yeah.
guys that are being contracted by the big publishing companies or the larger indie authors that are out there. So just be aware, you may have someone that you have your heart set on narrating your audiobook for you, but if you know them well, then probably other people know them well too. And
Yeah.
so that's going to like it would be a absolute dream if I could get Jeff Castellucci to narrate my audiobook. I know it's not going to happen. It would be amazing. I know
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. So just keep that in mind. Don't let your dreams get crushed because the person that you have your heart set on narrating your audiobook is not going to be available to you. Is there's a high chance of it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say just because you're a smaller author. I mean, it could be that. I mean, if you're willing to pay their rate, I also think it's going to be time constraint. They can only take on so many audiobooks. And if they are a well-known, narrator, the chances of you being able to fit in their time slots, that's going to be tough because they are,
Yeah.
they are constantly busy. They are constantly producing work. And I think some narrators only can take, like, if they are a busy narrator, they're only taking 3, maybe 4 projects a month, if that. And that's not a lot. That is very few. And again, they're going to determine it probably by who the author is eventually. So if you're going for that the PFH, the pay production, it's going to be up in the air whether or not you can get that author to begin with, especially
And it's
like
also
romance
going to depend
authors.
on
Oh, or
yeah.
narrators.
It's also going to depend on how long your book is.
That too.
I'm there because they're going to have to take into account, okay, on average, a 100K book is going with a word count of 100K is going to take longer to narrate than a book that's like 60K. So they're probably, I would assume, they're probably judging it based on that as well because, I mean, you got to remember, they're human and that is a lot of voice work. If you have never spoken for a long period of time, like I love that we're doing this podcast because it's kind of preparing me for speaking for long periods of time when I do my audiobooks. And so if you're not used to that, just imagine what they're doing in order to get themselves to that point. It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's an audio narrator that I follow on Instagram, and she puts out some of like the warm ups that she has to do for her voice and ways that she warms up her vocal cords and just to keep herself being able to do what she's doing.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too.
Also, side note would be your genre. Some narrators only narrate for certain genres. So if you're listening to, oh my god, there's a big one in romance, and I can't think of his name. Teddy Hamilton. So if you listen to a lot of romance audiobooks and you hear Teddy Hamilton's voice, and you're like, oh my god, that's the voice of my character, but he doesn't take sci-fi novels or read horror novels, you may be barking up the wrong tree. You know what I mean? So they also have that discretion of your audiobook and your book is not what they even do. And they do have that discretion to turn you away and say, hey, this is not what I work on. This is not what I like to do. So there is that to account for as well. Or there's another point. Like you said, the length is another one. Or maybe you guys just don't vibe. There is that possibility too. Or they don't like the actual book itself. They're just like, I can't get into this. Or there's certain triggers in books that they won't read. So just if you are going to hire out, keep an open mind that there are a lot of reasons why they will say no. If you are doing, especially if you're doing that pay per hour, contract, there are a lot of reasons that they can tell you no. And that is completely up to their discretion. So, like Leona said, don't get your dreams crushed if the narrator you had in mind turns you away. There is a lot of different reasons. So just be open to other options in terms of narrators. My lighting is going bananas because it's a
You're
cloudy
talking.
day. I am going from like bright white to like being shadow. I'm sorry.
This is what happens when you film during the day.
Yeah. Filming
Like,
during the day.
it's during the day because you can see there's actually light coming through the window.
Yeah, it's like this is one of the problems of filming during the day. You have to deal with natural sunlight, deciding if it's going to work or not.
Yeah. So yeah, it's take care when you're hiring out. And another thing that I don't think would be a bad idea, and you sort of brought this up before, is getting references, especially if it's a new narrator, making sure that they're going to follow through on what they have contracted with you, so that you're not losing out money. And I think that's a lot of reasons why newer narrators will probably do that royalty share, because if they don't have any finished audiobooks to their name to prove to you they can do it, you're doing this at no cost up front
Yeah.
to you. And they're only going to get paid once the audiobook is out there. So just something else to keep in mind.
Also, side note, this is also one thing you will have to also be cautious with and getting references. There was a very big name romance author, or not author, narrator, that had allegations come out against them. And this is in the romance genre. So if you are I would say not all genres have this issue, but I would say specifically romance, dark romance, anything romance related. Go ask the authors how well they worked with them. Some people can be professional, but when you are dealing with explicit materials, some people tend to think that that's okay to cross lines, and it's not. So get those references. If they do have that backlog of work, go get references from other authors and say, hey, I want to work with this narrator. How did they work with you? Because like I said, this happened a few years ago where a very big name narrator was basically thrown out into the public eye of all his allegations with authors and inappropriate behavior. So just also be cautious when doing that, especially if you are in the romance genre and dealing with explicit material. So just a safety precaution, I guess you can say.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I don't remember the name, but I remember seeing stories about that.
Should I say the name? Because I know it.
I leave that up to your discretion.
So,
I mean, if it's already known in the public eye.
Yeah, it's out there, and it was Joe Arden. So he was very popular in like the dark romance audio listeners. Some people still will go hard for that man, and I'm like, no. So maybe don't work with him if you didn't know about that scandal yet. Now, hopefully you do. So yeah, just be safe when also dealing with narrators, because that can go spiral downward real quick.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah. So there are pros and cons to both DIYing it yourself and hiring out. DIY, first off, the big one, it saves you money. And if you are a very small indie author with very little cash to spare, this is a great option to getting your audiobooks made, right? So you sitting down, I've literally heard of people sitting in their closets because they didn't have money for like soundproofing stuff. They will sit in their closet with all their clothes around them and film an audiobook on their floor. So it is an option. But But there are some downfalls, right? It's probably not going to be perfect. The sound quality may not be the greatest. And you may have to purchase audio equipment, whether it's headphones, a program, a microphone, something. So there is that small upfront cost, but it will save you a lot of money in in the long run if you decide to do it yourself.
And I mean, it's a choice you have to make on what you're willing to invest in. Because, like, I'm gonna move my mic so you might hear it a little bit. Like, I have this whole rig now just to do audiobooks. And for those who are listening, I have the Yeti mic, I have the pop filter, I have a sound shield around it, and that is just those are mainly for the podcast that I'm going to be using for the audiobooks. Audiobooks, it's a choice you have to make on what you're willing to spend the money on.
Yeah.
And if you decide to go with one of the other routes of hiring another narrator with the royalty share, that's going to save you money too. Not in the end, but in the beginning it will.
Yeah.
So it's how much. Yeah, I mean, there's like we said, there's pros and cons on each side of this. The pros for me is I'm going to be in control of how everything is pronounced. I'm going to be in control of the pacing. I'm going to be in control of the sound quality.
Yeah.
Which might not be the best because I'm going to be sitting at home with just a little mic and a sound shield and hope that it works out. You're going to be in charge of the mastering of it. Which, again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to have to learn all this. So while it will save money, it is not going to save you time, because reading a book out loud takes a lot of time, especially if you're like, I didn't like how that take went on that chapter, or my voice broke or something, then you're going to be using that time to fix that.
Yeah. To your point of reading it the way you want it, right? You're going to know the pronunciations of places and people. You can set the pace. Also, your tone is going to matter. And you know how you wrote your characters to say certain phrases or dialogue, where a narrator is only going to know what you put on the page. And if you know the nuances of what conversations are going to be like and how things are going to be said. So that is a positive. When you go to read your own book, you're going to know exactly how you want things said and read. Where a narrator, it's kind of up in the air and in their discretion how things are read. You can go back and say, hey, I really didn't like the way this was read, or could you make it sound more like this, or correct pronunciations and stuff. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide, is it going to be worth it to have that person go back and fix something every time they mispronounced it or not? Or so there are definitely pros and cons. And the big one for, DIY is saving money. Hiring out does save your time, right? And that's going to be a big one when you're having to learn how to produce an audiobook. Also, this is where if you have a narrator that you have in mind, if you can get them, that is a bonus, right? Some people don't like the sound of their own voice. Some people don't want to really voice their own audiobook, but they really don't have a choice due to money constraints or whatever. So you can get that narrator that you've been wanting, and that is a bonus, right? You know what you're expecting, and that's what you want. Also the finished result, right? It's going to be more polished because this is what they do for a living. This is their profession. So the end result of your audiobook is probably going to be nicer than if you did it yourself, unless you somehow mastered audiobook production and dealing with Audacity or whatever program you're using and mastering it and stuff. I mean, if you can, that's great, but chances are theirs is still going to sound better.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's just unfortunately the way it is. It's what are you in this case willing to put the time into? And you may not have the time to read a book out loud from start to finish, front to back. I was
Front to
mixing them
back.
up.
Yeah.
So it's going to, and we're not we're not saying either choice is bad or good.
Mm-mm.
This is going to depend on you. This is going to depend on what you have the money for, what you have the time for, what you have the space for. Maybe you got 3 kids running around in the background and you're trying to film a podcast, you know?
Guilty. Me.
uh, how is that going to translate into being able to film an audiobook? And I'm not doubting Nicole on this. I'm
No,
just
I know.
offering
I'm just a
hypothetical
good
situations.
a good example.
Good example. So you have to keep that in mind yourself. Another option for DIY that I forgot to put on the outline, if you do not want to take the time to purchase the equipment, you do not have the space in whatever housing you are in or residence you are in to record an audiobook, and you have some of the money to do this, studios will rent
Mm.
out their rooms usually in 2 hour increments. So it's probably going to take more than 2 hours to record an audiobook. So just keep that in mind and keep that in mind in pricing. Um, I have personally looked up studios. I'm in the Kansas City area, so I was trying to see if there was a studio available to me. They are not cheap. They are probably cheaper than paying per finished hour to a narrator in the end. But that is an option for you. If there is just flat out no way you're going to be able to record this in your home or wherever you have available space, find a studio. Most of them do have the option to do an audiobook, and they will also help you master it. A lot of them. A lot of that comes with the renting of the studio space is the mastering of it for you. So keep that in mind too. That's an option.
Yeah, I didn't even know of that. So that's good information.
Yeah. Found it when I
Um,
was hunting down audiobook stuff.
yeah. Um, so the next part is, when do you start doing your audiobook? Um, Typically, obviously you have to have the book written. So I would say if you're deciding to do the audiobook, I would say after you get revisions done, that would probably be your time to start filming or recording your audio for it, for your audiobook. That way it gives you plenty of time between editing and book covers and art if you're purchasing artwork. It gives you hopefully enough time to film your audiobook so you can release it around the same time as when your book releases, which is another thing you have to decide. Is your audiobook coming out at the same time as your paperback and your ebook? Is all of it coming out at one time, or is it you're going to release your audiobook after, you know, you're finished with, oh my god, publishing your ebook and paperbacks or hardcovers, whatever. Um, so that is also when you have to kind of decide. I am not a good example of this because I have 3 books already out and I still don't have audiobooks, and I'm like, but I want to do them. But I also had to wait till I had the money to buy a microphone, and I still have to buy a sound shield and potentially some type of soundproofing because I don't particularly want to sit on the floor in my closet to record my audiobook. So all of those things come into play, and you have to decide when you ultimately want to have your ebook released. Or not ebook, audiobook. Oh my goodness, my brain.
We're both dead. We needed to eat some of that candy.
Right? I need some sugar pep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely are you going to stagger the releases? Are you going to try and release them close to the same time? Are you going to release them the same day? I am aiming to release all of mine on the same day. Will it happen? I hope so. I'm going to have from January to March to record it, so we'll see if I can get it done.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but that is definitely something to take into consideration is when are you going to release this? So when do you start writing the audiobook? Do you want to wait until you get your arcs in? Do you want to just start it right after your first revisions or after your beta readers and then go back and re-record the chapters that have changes or that kind of thing? So something to keep track of. Um, and another thing to also think about, and this was a piece in the Joanna Penn book, Audio for Authors, was what is good when it is read physically with your eyeballs is not always good when it's heard.
Yeah.
And the biggest one I can think of is what she said. Literally, the word said is what's often recommended to use when you're writing the book because it just disappears in the reader's mind. It doesn't show up. But when you are listening to something and someone says, and she said, and he said, and they said, and she said, it gets annoying real fast. So using other, I'm not saying to go back and rewrite your whole book. That's just a
Yeah.
me thing. Um,
I would just rewrite the whole thing.
just keep in mind if you're planning on releasing an audiobook that this is as you are writing the book, if you are planning on releasing this as an audiobook, something to think about. Because what looks good on paper may not always sound good when listened to.
Yeah. And that was a good point that she brought up is if you're writing and knowing you're going to produce an audiobook, then your best bet is to write that so it will fit audio first before reading. Because ultimately you're going to get a book that, in her words, just sounds better. So if you know you're going to be producing an audiobook, you're going to find ways to go about the whole said situation or just the repetitive nature of certain phrases that are fine in books, but when you hear it spoken out loud, you're like, oh, that's annoying. I don't like that. So yeah, I would say if you know you're going to go into audio, be more careful with your word choices, especially around dialogue. Use more action tags. Try not to use more of the like dialogue tags unless it is differentiating how someone is saying something, I would say. So that is definitely something to keep in mind when you are writing if you plan to do audiobooks. Or there's going to have to be a lot of fixing as the narrator or you go through because you don't want to have said, says, or, back to back to back. So there'll be a lot of, abridging to be done. I was trying to think of the word.
So yeah, just something to think about as you're writing the book, and as you're doing revisions. Maybe you wrote the book and you're like, now you're going through and you're doing revisions and you're like, hey, I do want to make this into an audiobook. That's also the time to do it. So
Yeah. That is
all I
true.
got.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our audiobook production episode. And that leaves us with book reviews. I will be honest. I have been so busy this week. I have not picked up pretty much anything to read except Eye of the World so I could catch up to Leona because I was like 200 pages behind or something.
And now I'm a chapter ahead of you already.
And now you're already a chapter ahead of me, but that is way better than being 200 pages ahead of me. So I do plan to do some reading later today after I try and get some writing done. So, and revising.
That's fair.
Because it is November 1st, so I made it my goal to try to do, I guess it's not called NaNoWriMo anymore because that organization's gone, novel writing month. I guess, for November. So I'm going to try to do that and write my Casper inspired novel while I'm also
Yes.
revising. So
Do what you can, man.
I'm going to try. Fingers crossed, I'm going to try because I do want to get that novel out next year. Hopefully, not the end of next year.
Hopefully not the end of next year. No, I hope not. That would be rough.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, I don't either. I want to have that one and then the other novel that I've started working on. Hopefully both of them next year. But we'll see. That's a tall order. But they're already they've been started. So it's not like they're starting at square one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, so I do have a book review. It's short and sweet. This is a cautionary fairies and fables book focused on African myths called The Girl Who Married a Skull and Other African Stories. This was
Nice.
published by Iron Circus Comics. Um, I had a lot of fun with it, and I love that. And I'm sorry for the people that are only listening and they can't see the art on this. They have
Oh,
different
that's
art. So,
cool.
like, that's the first story. But then, so it's all different artists, all different authors that they pulled in to collaborate on this. Because then, like, this is the next story. The art is different, you know.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's a lot of fun. Um, Lots of African myths and fables and stories that come out of this. And I really enjoyed reading it. It was short and sweet because it's a graphic novel, and I always just kind of speed run through those. Well, I appreciate the art, don't get me wrong, but I'm a fast reader, so I'm just like,
Yeah. Done.
yeah, pretty much. I can finish one of those in a night typically.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, no, if you like fairy tales and fables and stuff, the Iron Circus series of the cautionary fables and fairy tales book, they do have other books focusing on other regions. There's a North American one, there's a European one. I don't know if there's an Australian one yet. I don't know. But this is the African one. Very good. Very, very, if you can find it. I got this off of a Kickstarter, so I'm not sure how much is being published with the other books and where you can find them. I wish I could give you a better. I'll see what I can find and link it below if I can find these. Um, so yeah, again, short and sweet. Graphic novels, especially one that's an anthology of little stories, is kind of hard to give an extensive review on.
Yeah. I mean, but that's cool though that it's like it's all based off of African tales and stuff. Because it's rare
Yeah.
when you find
No, it's
those.
fun. Yeah, I have a whole section in my library that's devoted to fairy tales from other countries, so I have fun with that.
Nice. I think I have one that's like this one's mine. Fairy tales from around the world.
Yeah,
And it has like
those
the
are fun.
cool. So it was like the special edition from Barnes and Noble. So it has a whole bunch in here. Have I read it yet? No. Will I?
But it's
Hopefully.
there.
It's there. I bought those mainly more so for if my kids wanted to read them, but I will eventually get around to it.
Yeah, no, I have a Russian one, a Japanese one. I think I have a Chinese one. I think I have one from India.
Oh,
Like I said,
nice.
I like to find ones based in different countries and
Yeah.
read their fables and fairy tales are fun. So that's why this Kickstarter was a lot of fun for me because I got it from a lot of different regions.
Yeah. That's
So,
funny because Emma, we went to Books a Million like last week, 2 weeks ago, and she actually picked up one that was Japanese ghost stories. She loves Japan, everything related to it. So it was no surprise when she came back. She's like, "Mom, look at this cool book. It's Japanese ghost stories. I was like, yeah, that's fitting for you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Those are always fun though, because you get to see like cultural differences and stuff too.
yeah, the cover story, The Girl Who Married a Skull, is, if you've never read that fable, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's pretty funny. I
Is
enjoyed it
it?
a lot.
I'll
Yeah.
have to look it up. So that brings us to our episode, to the end of our episode.
At the end of our
Smooth brain,
episode.
smooth brain. You can find us at writingwithwitches.com. Our email is writingwithwitches@gmail. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and YouTube. And we have a Discord server. So if you would like to hang out with us on Discord and chat with us, we are pretty much always on Discord. And you can find me at all the aforementioned places, as well as my website, and all that will be linked below, because I don't have a nice fancy email because I don't pay for the name. And I also have a Buy Me a Coffee and Discord server as well. Leona.
You're mainly going to find me in 3 places: Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. So, Substack, you subscribe. I've been sending out a monthly newsletter with little snippets from Fire Magic, short stories, what's coming down the pipeline, other works that might come in the future, art, which has been wonderful to be able to send out art with this to get people's attention.
Yeah.
And yeah, Facebook and Instagram, I've been trying to post more regularly on there. But yeah, you can find me at Leona Urbanski, or author Leona Urbanski. Yeah, that's where you're gonna find me right now. Hopefully more later. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Yeah. So the preview for next week's episode will be planning a series or trilogy. I didn't plan mine, so it just happened. So you'll learn about
Here's just
that too. How to just wing it, I guess.
Yep.
But
Sounds like us.
yeah, that is the end of our episode. Thank you for listening and or watching. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.